Okay, so good morning everyone. Just wait for people to come in before we start. So we'll give you 5 minutes to join us today for our live tutorial, live full demo of how to paint Makoto Shinkai's cherry tree. Okay, so do let me know in the comment section if this view is okay, because I'm having a hard time actually adjusting my iPad to my lazy pod. Yeah, so if you see me fiddling around my camera, that's because I'm trying to adjust this, because the last time you saw my hair blocking the view when I was painting during our painting demo last week. Okay, so alright, so let me just arrange my stuff according to how it can be viewed from my laptop. Okay, so let me just do that here. Alright, so a little just fiddling around my lazy pod. Maybe I should get a new one, because this one is kind of hard to adjust. Okay. So we'll start at 9:05. Okay, so this one holds good. Okay. What time is it? 9:04. So we'll start in 1 minute. Okay, so that's not enough, so that we can start early and finish early. Alright, for those who didn't see my announcement, today I'm going to demonstrate how I painted Makoto Shinkai's cherry tree. Okay, if you don't know Makoto Shinkai, he's one of the artists behind Studio Ghibli's art backgrounds. Okay, so this was, I think, painted digitally. So the output for today might be a little different from what you're seeing in front of you, because I am going to paint the same cherry tree using traditional way of painting it, using watercolor. Okay, so we won't be digitally painting this. We will do this, we will paint this traditionally. I did paint this about a month ago or 3 weeks ago. So this is my output using watercolor. So we will try to duplicate the artwork by Makoto Shinkai, but if your output is different from the reference photo, that's totally fine, because this is still your art. One of the reasons why I do this, why sometimes I copy some of my favorite watercolorist works, is because I want to study the brush strokes, the techniques that the artist may have used while painting. Okay, so there's no intention to infringe any copyright. I just do this for study. Okay, so let's start. Okay, when I was deciding on how I will teach this, I actually did the brief outline of this in my mind. I didn't write it down. So today, I want to start by analyzing this particular subject. Okay, let me just adjust my book. Okay, and hey Google, play Studio Ghibli Piano Station.
Playing the album Studio Ghibli Piano Station on Spotify.
Alright, so there you go. Okay, so what we'll do is let's analyze first this image that you're seeing in front of you. Okay, so this is a cherry blossom tree, obviously, and as you can see, based on the photo, the light is coming in this direction. All right, so the shadowed part are mostly on the right side of the tree. Okay, so those are one of the things that you have to take note when studying a reference photo. Another thing, the cherry blossoms itself have at least 4 shades of color. Very light pink or almost pastel pink, reddish pink or pinkish red, and then you have purple in the back, at the back of this tree. So the foreground cherry blossoms are the ones that are pastel pink. The mid-tones, the middle ones are in the reddish pink, and then you have a little bit of dark purple and violet blossoms, which depicts that these blossoms are right behind or behind those branches. So medyo nasa likod siya ng tree, okay? So in order to make this artwork, the first thing that we're going to do is to paint the background, okay? So in watercolor, we actually paint the lightest color first. So usually it's the background, and then we leave off some color to depict the clouds, and then we will draw in using watercolors yung branches and the blossoms. All right, but let's first sketch this subject. Okay, so how do we do that? We sketch and analyze. All right, so this is how we're going to do this. Let me just put this away. Okay, okay, so watch me sketch this cherry blossom tree. Okay, so I'm having a hard time doing this. Let me just adjust my camera. All right, okay, so the blossoms are primarily behind, or above rather, above the horizon line. Okay, so let's do horizon line that's there you go, just a line. That's the horizon line. So that's basically above this horizon line. The blossoms are mostly based on this photo here. Majority of the cherry blossoms and the branches are above the horizon line. Okay, so this is the horizon line, and there are some that are falling below the horizon line. Okay, so let's do that by sketching a line. We will wait. I think this is too much. Let's just lighten this up. Okay. Okay, let me just, you have to pardon me also. I'm not feeling very well right now. I'm feeling under the weather, so I might be less chatty than usual. Okay, and then we will proceed to sketching the branches. Okay, when sketching the rather the main trunk. Okay, okay, so I'm sketching this based on the what I see on the reference photo. All right, so just do that, and then I made it slightly off-centered. Okay, there you go. And then let's mark this part right here. Okay, do you like my music? This is Studio Ghibli OST. Okay, so I have drawn the main trunk of the tree. Let's now proceed to sketching the trunks above, or rather the branches above the horizon line. There are three main branches. The one that's going this way, one that's going the other side, and one that's going almost horizontal. Okay, so let's do that. There's one that's going this way. This one is from My Neighbor Totoro. Okay, so I have drawn the three main branches. There's also one here that I forgot to draw, but we will draw that later on. Okay, so let me just cluster these blossoms right here. So we have blossoms going this way, and we have blossoms going that way. Here also, and here also. Okay, so that's how we conceptualize, or rather we design our painting. So we will identify the main sectors or main portions of our, so the cherry blossoms will go this way. I'm sketching this very lightly so that I'll know where to put my cherry blossoms. But to take note that your artwork doesn't have to be exactly the same as the one that you're seeing in front of you. Okay, so it's totally fine if your artwork is different, because although we're trying to replicate Makoto Shinkai's work here, it doesn't mean that has to be 100% the same. Similar, yeah, but not the same. Okay, there's a difference. Okay, so I'm just mapping out where this cherry blossom should go, the main flower clusters, and then we also have here that's going this way. All right, so here also. Okay, and then here also, and right behind that is a cluster also here. Okay, so the clusters are a little complicated, but don't worry, we're going to simplify that while we paint. Okay, so I'm just drawing in the clusters so that I don't get lost. Sometimes I have to do that when I am painting complicated subjects such as trees. Okay, and then let me just draw this branch here that I forgot to draw in. This one is behind the main trunk here. Okay, okay, and it's going this way. Okay, so let me just darken the main branches so that I don't get lost. So for this one, if the you can do light sketch, but you can also do deep pencil sketch. I'm just doing this so that I don't get lost, right? So okay, okay, there you go. So I have darkened that. I hope that you can see my sketch. Okay, so now let's go to painting the sky, but let me just lighten this a bit because it's too dark. Might show in the okay. All right, so now let's paint the sky. In order to do that, we'll have to wet the whole thing, okay, the whole painting. So for this, I am going to use my Hake brush. This is a type of flat brush made of squirrel hair and maple wood. Okay, so we will just wet the whole thing, the whole paper. Okay, like so. So I hope you see that. Okay, so I'm just wetting the whole thing with clean water. Okay, okay, so I think I already drenched this with water, so we just dry this a bit. Okay, so for this painting, let me just discuss the materials that we're using. Of course, I'm using 100% cotton. This is an artist grade paper by Baohong. It's a cheaper option, cheaper than Arches paper. The best watercolor paper out there is Arches. Next to Arches, Baohong. I love using Baohong as well. And then I'll be using, of course, I've already used my Hake brush, the flat brush. I actually have two sizes, one that's 50mm and one that's 20mm. Okay, And I'll be using my round brushes. This one is by Silver Black Velvet. One is size 12, the other size 6. Okay, so I'm going to use these two brushes mainly for painting the trunk and the branches of the tree and also the cherry blossoms. Okay, I've used my pencil. I typically use 4B for when I'm sketching. And then for the colors, I'm using artist grade watercolors. We'll be using ochre pink, alizarin crimson, it's red. We will also use yellow ochre. This is by Mijalo. This one is Senelier and this one is Prima. And then I will also use brown for this. This is burnt sienna. I think I'm going to use burnt umber as well. And then for the sky, I am going to use cerulean blue. Okay, this is a light blue. It's similar to sky blue. Okay, and then for the lightest pink, I'll be using pastel pink by White Nights. Okay, so this one is one of my favorite palettes. This is actually a resin palette, tiny palette for miniature painting. Okay. So the paper is super wet, soaking wet. So let's start painting the sky, okay? So I'll use my smaller Hake brush, flat brush, and I will grab cerulean blue color. As you can see, these watercolors I have put them in my old makeup palette. I actually upcycled my makeup palette to contain some of my artist grade watercolors. This one is by Van Gogh. Okay, and then I will just swipe the colors across. Alright, and then let the water. So this is really wet. Okay. There you go. So that's sky blue for you. And then let me just tip it over so that the colors go down. Okay. So as you can see, the water is the color is flowing because this is so wet. And then while this is wet, I will lift out some of the colors that are for clouds and also for the cherry blossoms part. Okay, so based on the reference photo, we have clouds here as well, here also. So we have clouds here, and then I will also lift out the parts where you have thick clusters of flowers. Why? It's because I don't want the blue to mix much in my blossoms, otherwise the colors will be different. Okay, so I'm just lifting out some colors. I'm also identifying where the clusters of the flowers will be. That's why I'm lifting those out. Okay, so that's how I identify the sections that will have flowers. Okay, and then right across that, here as well. Okay, don't worry, we will mark out the clouds from those maps where you have blossoms and those clouds. Okay, here as well. Okay, and then I will also lift out this color because this one should be lightest. And here also. So I've lifted out some colors here because this is the trunk and it will have some highlights on here, this section, and then some highlights here. Okay, so there you go. So let us now paint the clouds. Okay, so the clouds are this one, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, so the cloud has, according to the photo, has a bit of purple. So in order to do that, we will mix red. Oops. My alizarin crimson is a bit dirty, so we will mix red and some ultramarine blue. Okay. Here. Okay. And then we will dab it. Cloud is on here. You will dab it here. Let that mix in the blue. And then here as well. And then clouds here. Okay. I need to. Okay. As you can see, the colors are still light because it's just first layer. Okay. Just lift out some colors. Okay. So while we are waiting for that to dry, let us mix a stronger color purple by using alizarin crimson and French ultramarine blue. Okay, can you see that? Okay, and we will add in some darker shades here at the bottom of the clouds. Okay, so we are already identifying the section where you have clouds. Okay, here as well. Yeah, this is clouds. Cloud 4. There are 4 clouds. Okay, so the colors are spreading. That's fine. Let's just tip it over a little so that the colors will spread. Okay, we can also help it spread by using our brush. Okay. Oh, this one is also a cloud. Okay. Oh, this one is a cluster. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, let me just add. This is the cloud. Sorry. This one is a cluster of flowers. Okay, so I'll lift out this color. Okay, so I fixed that by lifting it out with water, clean water, using my brush. Okay, so those 4 are my clouds. Right, and then I am going to dab with a bit of cerulean blue for the cloud. Okay, I'm just allowing the cerulean blue to mix with my purple. Okay, because clouds have color gradients, it's not necessarily just white. Okay, so if you're painting with me, I hope that you can follow with what I'm doing. So I basically added, let me just show you my first layer colors. I basically just added a bit of purple and cerulean blue in my clouds. There are 4 clouds here. So the white is on the top, while the shadow of the cloud is right at the bottom here. Here as well. Here. Okay. So next, I think I painted the blue in some of the trunks rather strongly. So let me just lift off some of the colors. Okay. So I'm just lifting off some of the colors of the 3 branches. Okay. There you go. So that we'll know where the branches are. Okay, So let's now mix. Well, this is drying. Let's now mix pink, reddish pink. Okay. So for the lightest pink, we will add that later. Let's first paint the reddish pink. So in order to do that, we will be using opera pink and mix it here. So opera pink. And a little bit of alizarin crimson here. So, or let's see that. Let's make sure that we're mixing enough to cover all the flowers that we will be painting for this artwork. Okay. So let me just grab my towel and lift off some of the waters that pooled here. So as you can see, my paper has started to buckle. Okay, so because it's too wet. Okay, sometimes it happens when there's too much water. So let me just grab another towel. Okay. Let me just here. Okay. Right. So now let's proceed to painting the left side first. Okay. So there will be sections here that have. Is it dry? Okay. Let me just check if this is dry already. Okay. It's still wet, but it's okay because we're just painting the first layer first. First layer. So we will, okay, so the color is spreading, so that means this is still wet. Okay, so we're painting we're painting wet on damp. Okay, so again I'm just doubling the colors. Okay, here as well. So I'm also looking at my reference photo while, so this is a cloud, right? So okay, so the paint, so the paper is still wet, that's why the colors are spreading. That's okay. So we will do that as first layer, then we will strengthen that later on. Okay, there are some here. And then some of the cherry blossoms are actually partially blocking the clouds. And then the branches. So this is the first layer of our cherry blossoms. In case you came in late. Here also. So what I'm doing is dubbing the colors using my size 12 brush. And as you can see, some of the colors are moving. Like they have a mind of their own because the paper is still damp. But that's okay. I'm actually taking advantage of the dampness by letting the colors flow. I'm actually totally fine by it. Okay. So there would be some right here also. So I'm looking at the reference photo while I'm doing this, okay? So it may look random, but it's not. I'm actually mapping out the pink blossoms according to what I'm seeing in the book. Okay, so this is the cloud here that is partially blocked by cherry blossoms. So I'm just adding the colors right on top of that. And then there's also here. And then some here also. Just randomly on this brush. On this branch. Here. as you can observe, the blue is already lightening up. So that's the thing with watercolor. They actually dry lighter most of the time. There are colors that are can be a bit opaque and highly staining, but there are colors like the cerulean blue that actually dries lighter. That's why if you notice, my first layer was a little dark, because the watercolors have the tendency to do that. They dry lighter. Okay, so by dabbing in this first layer, I'm actually already mapping out also the where the blossoms will be. Okay, here, this may look random, but I'm actually looking at I'm also doing this by looking at the reference photo. Okay, so that's our first layer. Oh, I forgot the ones here. Okay, so let me just add more color on this side. So it's actually above this cloud here. I lost my cloud. We will fix that later. So as you can see, I left out some spaces because those are the sections of the sky that are can be seen through the cherry blossoms. Okay, so that's my first layer of color. While that is drying, let's wait for it to dry because we cannot add color on it while they're still wet. Let's paint this trunk. I will fix this one right here. Okay, so for that, I will soften that with water. Okay. Let me just fix my background because there are blooms here. I made a mistake that the paper is too wet. That's why my paper is buckling. And then there will be dark colors that actually flowed in some sections and stayed in some sections. That's why I have blooms here. Okay. It's something that I'm also trying to master, the loading of water. So this is just clean water. I'm trying to soften these sections that have sharp edges, as you can see here. Okay, so alright. So for the trunk of the tree, we will use brown and a little bit of yellow ochre. Okay, burnt sienna and yellow ochre. Okay, but we will do a light, more yellow ochre and just a bit of burnt sienna, and then we will put in some water. Okay, here I am using just a jar of water because the colors are limited palette lang tayo. That's why I only have one okay. So this is very light color of yellow ochre and burnt sienna. So I'm adding that here so that we'll identify the branches, because I'm slowly losing that due to the layer of blossoms that I put in there on there. Okay, so those are branches. Okay, and then we have here also, na-cover na siya ng cherry blossoms, but there should be, okay, that's still wet. We will not touch that. We have one here and one here. Okay, here also. Okay. Okay, so those are the main branches of our tree. Okay, and then let's add darker color. For this, I will need to use burnt sienna, burnt umber, because so I'm using burnt umber. It's here. Okay, so that's burnt umber. So burnt umber is the true brown. Hindi si burnt sienna. So burnt sienna is a little reddish, parang medyo rusty yung color niya. So I'm just dabbing that here. There you go. Still wet. But I'm just identifying the sections where there will be. Okay, it's still too wet. So let me just fix that. I think I need to hasten. So, let me just wait for that to dry. Masyado pa siyang basa. So, let me just grab my heat gun or my So I'm going to use my hair dryer in order to let this dry faster or quicker. Okay, so sometimes we use that in demo. Usually I wait for my painting to dry before I add another layer. But since this is a demo and we are doing this for 1 hour lang, hasten the process by drying using a hair blower. I think this is dry enough. So let me add another layer of the flowers first before we touch the branch. Okay, so to do that, we will mix pink, so pink and here crimson, alizarin crimson, but this time there are more alizarin crimson than the pink. Okay, so medyo darker siya than the first layer that we did. Okay, so we will add that here. Again, I am dabbing the color. Okay, that's too dark. Let me add more pink. Okay, and then add more water. So this is too wet. So the thing with my brush, it's sable, so it holds so much water. That's why sometimes I need to be careful. I need to dry it on a piece of tissue before adding more layers of color, kasi otherwise kakalat yung color. Okay, so I'm again dabbing, just dabbing the colors. Okay, this is the mid-tone na section na. As you can see, the first layer has dried already, but a lighter pink. And if you noticed, halos parang ano siya, nawala, because there was too much water on the first layer, which I actually did deliberately. Okay, so this one, we're just adding more depth into our cherry blossom. Okay. here, and then here also. Okay, and then I'm dabbing the colors again using my size 12 round brush. Okay, here also. As you can see, there's a sky blue here na dapat wala because branch siya ng tree. We will fix that later. Okay. Okay, so now that's our second layer. So let's now proceed muna to, while this is still wet, let's fix our tree trunk. And okay, using yellow ochre mixed into burnt umber. Okay, so let's add more layer to our tree trunk because it's too light. Okay, and then we will paint here. That's part of a branch that's peeking through the blossoms. And then here also, I'm being careful not to touch the pink. Okay, and then here also, so there's branches na makita through the blossoms. Here, there should be one here also. Okay, then here. So you can see I am negative painting around my blossoms. I could have used masking fluid for this, but I chose not to because not a lot of our students here have masking fluid. Maybe next time I'll teach you how to use the masking fluid. Okay. Again, the color is still light because that's our first layer. Inulit ko lang. Okay, kasi the first one was not really that great. So I just added the second layer. But this will serve as our first layer. And then we will add pink into our cherry blossoms. But this time I'm going to use pastel pink. So this one is by White Nights. This is for the sections of the tree that is closest blossoms to us. Kaya mas lighter yung color niya. So siya yung lightest color. I decided to use pastel pink. And we can actually, that's the good thing about the pastel pink because it's opaque. It's actually nice to add on top. Para siyang halos gouache or acrylic that you can add on top of your painting. Okay, and then I'm just dabbing the color using my size 6 round brush. Okay, so these are the blossoms that are again closest to us, closest to the viewer. Okay, and I am just dabbing that in some sections of the first 2 layers of the blossoms, so hindi sa lahat. Okay, and usually doon sa mga dulo. Okay, here I am looking at my reference photo while I'm doing this. Okay, so this may look random but it's not. There are sections in the photo na meron lang nung lightest pink, so that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, for those who don't have pastel pink, you can actually use you can use white and pink. Just just combine white color with your pink watercolor. And then you can also use, if you have poster color that's colored pink, you can do that. You can also use gouache. If you have gouache, that's also great. Okay. And then there are things here that are crossing the branches. So if you notice, wala pa tayo ng mga branches na maliliit. So parang some of the blossoms are floating. We will add that later. Okay? After everything has dried up. Because we can't do that while the paints are still wet. Okay? And here also. See how nice yung pastel pink. And if you notice, I'm also not adding water in my brush. It's because I am applying this pastel pink like you would acrylic and gouache with less water. Okay? There you go. So let's now fix our trunk by adding the dark values or the darkest the shadows. Okay, so for the shadows we will use again burnt umber, but this time stronger burnt umber. Okay, and we will get it straight from the pan. Is this dry? Medyo basa pa siya. Okay, so let's just speed up the drying process using a hair blower. Okay, because we cannot add the shadows if the first layer is still wet. Okay? And if you notice, there's still a bit of blue here. We will fix that by adding shadow on that part. Okay, it's now dry. So the shadows are shaped like that. Okay, we will soften this later with clean water. But for now, oh, I missed a section here. There should be blossoms here. We will fix that later. Okay, then here also may shadow siya. So again, I'm looking at my reference photo as I paint this, so that I don't miss some of the details. Okay, here also just a bit of water. We will soften these sections later. I'll show you how I soften. Okay. So there will be shadows on some of the branches because of the blossoms. So they're casting shadows on the branches. Okay. Okay. So let us soften now the shadows using just water on our brush. So I load my brush with just clean water and we will soften this kasi it's too sharp. Okay, so let's just soften that with clean water. Okay, just to add some texture on your tree. Okay, and then so as you can see, I've added the shadow na parang hindi siya maging ganun ka flat. because although this is digital painting, we still want this to render na medyo mukhang 3D. That's why I also have different colors of the cherry blossom, because you want to put them in behind, in the middle, and near someone who's looking at this artwork. Magmukha siyang 3-dimensional, okay? And then I'm just lifting off some of the colors para, okay, yan, para hindi ganun ka even yung shadow mo, because there will be sections na yung shadow lightest, and then there will be sections na dark siya. Okay, there you go, there you go. And then we will strengthen that with a bit of Payne's gray mixed into burnt umber. So this is the burnt umber. I am adding a bit of gray, Payne's gray, para mag-darken siya, to darken our burnt umber. And I will put that on the sections of the shadow that are darkest. Alright? That's too watery, so I'll add more paint. So I've added more burnt umber and Payne's gray in order to darken some of the sections of the shadow, and I'm adding that wet on damp. Okay? Just to texturize the shadow a bit for the branch of the tree and the trunk. Okay? And then here as well. Okay, I'm leaving off some of the highlighted sections. Okay, there you go. Here as well. I'm just dabbing it in here. Again, as you can see, I'm making the shadow a little irregular. Okay, let me just grab it. Made a mistake here. Okay. Okay, there you go. So there is our shadow. Then let me just again lift off some of the colors to indicate that there will be sections where the light is still hitting the brush. Okay, there you go, there you go. Okay, so medyo okay na yan. There you go. So now that this is dry, let me just assess where the smallest branches are. So as you can see in the photo, marami siyang branches, okay? Marami siyang branches na mga maninipis. For that, I am going to use my size 6 brush para ma-paint in natin yung smallest branch. Okay, so let's start sa right side. So for the smallest branch, we're going to use burnt umber neat, meaning we're using burnt umber directly from the pan. Okay, so we're grabbing, let's see, oh, this is too brown, so I will add Payne's gray para mag-darken siya. And then let's add here. So if you notice, medyo nanginginig kamay ko kasi medyo manipis na to. So let me just, okay, medyo pasmado kamay ko, but you can actually add those branches, small branches, and they don't need to be straight lines. They can be discrete lines, ganyan, no? Okay, so they don't need to be continuous. Okay, la, 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 la. And there branches that can be seen through the blossoms. Let's not forget adding those. Remember, cherry blossoms grow in clusters, but there would be small branches that are peeking through these blossoms. Okay, so okay, let me just add, and let me just fix some of the shadows here using the same color, because I noticed that some of them have dried lighter to my liking. Okay, so now let's add more here using the same color. Okay, so here we go. So, and then there would be some that are okay. There you go. Okay, so let's go to the other side, or here muna sa may top. So meron dito. Okay, so let's do that. And then here as well, let me just fix the shadow here. Medyo kulang yung shadow. So I'm just adding the shadow. And then here sa left side. So here pwede nang medyo random yung branches. You don't need to copy each branch on the reference photo, because that's not how medyo magiging stressful yun for you guys, because there's too many tiny branches in the Makoto Shinkai's drawing. So don't copy each of the, as you see them, kasi that's not gonna be, medyo stressful na yun. Hindi na siya relaxing if you're going to do that. But here I'm just adding random branches na for some of the parts, meaning hindi na siya copied as in parehong-pareho with Makoto Shinkai's artwork. Okay, okay, so to make it organic, iba-ibahin natin yung shape, ha. Wag masyadong straight. Okay, so I think I'm okay with that na. I just missed some some flowers in the middle here, so I'm going to add more flowers in the middle. It's almost done, as you can see. It's almost done. I am going to use the same mix for my mid-tone flowers. Okay, so let me just let that dry for a bit, and then I'll just assess kung saan pa ako may kulang. So may kulang pa akong flowers here. Let's put some flowers sa dulo ng mga tiny branches na ginawa natin. Okay, so I'm just dubbing in again the colors. Pastel pink. I'm using pastel pink by White Nights. Okay, it's a Russian brand for watercolor. So there. I'm just doing this rather randomly, okay? So para lang to bring some of the flowers forward towards the viewer. Okay? As you can see, there are sections in a medyo white. So let's just, yun yung mga clouds natin. We'll not fix that anymore. Let's allow the viewers of this painting to interpret those as clouds. Okay, so sometimes we don't need to add too much detail. Let's help our viewers interpret those paintings according to how they see it. Okay? So again, I'm just adding pastel pink colors to bring some of the blossoms forward towards the viewer, whoever is looking at this painting right now. Okay? So I'm just dabbing in pastel pink colors. Okay? And here also, before we forget, because we forgot a bit of pink on here. Okay. So yeah, we're almost done. Okay. So just for some measure, we can also just to add some texture, we can also spatter this with some colors here. There you go. Just to add some texture to your painting, but not so much. Okay, so yeah. So I'm done. This is Makoto Shinkai's cherry tree from 5 centimeters per second anime film. One of my favorites anime film. Although it's rather sad. And then let me just sign the artwork here using my name in katakana. Okay, done. I hope you like my artwork. There you go, and thank you for watching, MJ and the other mommies who left early because I think nag-overtime tayo. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something from this session. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.